following podcast is for adults, not children. So get those fucking assholes out of the room, because they gotta leave.
Hi guys, it's David here. Yep, I'm just by myself recording a podcast. Unfortunately, Phil can't make it for this one. Scheduling issues, I'm working a lot, I'm working away. And Phil is busy, doing manly stuff, I guess. So we've had a bit of a scheduling conflict whereby I can't get something organised to podcast with him. So I'm here by myself right now, podcasting alone, which is kind of scary, because it's two guys, one garage. This isn't a garage. And I'm not two guys. So it's one guy in one room. And it's kind of weird, it's a bit unsettling, it's strange to not be podcasting with Phil or with somebody else. Because remember in the past when Phil hasn't been there to podcast, Ryan stepped in. I ain't got no Ryan, and I ain't got no Phil. So things are kind of creepy. But let's take it a whole load creepier. Because in this episode we're going to be talking about this entity, this being, this scary presence, known as Slender Man. You've probably heard of him. I think I became aware of the Slender Man maybe 2 years ago. 2 years ago I became aware of the this creepy character. If you're not aware of the Slender Man, I will describe him thusly. Slender Man is basically a man, believe it or not, who stands 8 to 15 feet tall. It's kind of tall, right? 8 to 15 feet tall, with no discernible features on his face. He wears a suit, likes to look a bit stylish, a bit cool, gets the women. He's got tentacles on his back, and really long limbs, so really long legs, and really long forearms. And he apparently, sorry, got my coffee. He apparently sort of kills people or takes away their children, lures children away. He's a scary presence, and a lot of people believe in his existence. A lot of people believe the Slender Man is a real entity, a real character, a real being, paranormal, supernatural creature, if you will, that lurks in woodlands and forests and takes away children, hunts them down, stalks them, and eventually they just disappear. Whether he eats them or absorbs them, it's not clear. But what is clear is the fact that the Slender Man is a complete fantastical fantasy. He is a creation made by man and has always been so. He is a horror icon for the internet generation of the 21st century, I suppose. He was a fabrication made up by a chap on a website called creepypasta.com, I believe it was. And that website is all about creepy stories and paranormal stories. It's a user-run website where you add your own additions, you add your own stories, your own tales to this website. And it becomes almost like a catalogue, an anthology of different stories. And those stories are completely user-fabricated. Almost in a forum sort of way. Now, the reason I bring this up is because that's how he was created. He was created as they ran a competition. I think it was on the Something Awful forums, and that got onto creepypasta.com, something along those lines. It was created by a chap called Eric Knudsen, who was known as Victor Surge in 2009. So it hasn't been going for very long. This character's been around, 6 years? And he's on there as a work of fiction. It was created via Photoshop and put in the background of old styly images with children on, and in the background you just see this character, this creepy character in the distance, wearing a suit, tentacles coming out on some of the shots. And that was it. And then from there, the character of Slender Man sort of got put through the wash. And now he's a character that a lot of people believe in, and a lot of people actually think exists or existed in a short space of 6 years. So this isn't something that was in a story or a book in the 1800s. This was an internet created character by a guy called Eric in 2009. Go figure. So that's kind of crazy, isn't it? How people will just latch onto something so fresh and it's gospel truth. It's almost like Chinese whispers. It's kind of crazy. Now, the character himself is really freaky, and when I became first aware of him, I didn't think too much of him. I was aware of who he was, and I thought, that's creepy. I've never heard of him before, that's kind of scary. And then he sort of dropped out of my consciousness, and I didn't become aware of him for a long time, until the game came out, which was called, I believe, 8 Pages? Slender the 8 Pages. It was I think it was a free internet game. You downloaded it off the internet on the PC, and you basically had to collect 8 pages, and on these pages were works of fiction that were sort of related to the Slender Man. And during this game, you were in this woodland at night time, and he was stalking you, right? So that's kind of creepy in itself, isn't it? So he's stalking you, and at points he would just appear, and the screen would fuzz up, and eventually, if he got too close to you, you would die or be absorbed or be knocked out. It was never clear, and that would happen to you. And yeah, the graphics on the game were a bit shit, because you'd look at the face of the Slender Man up close and there was no detail. I mean, fair enough, he's faceless, but there was no detail. It was really basic, but the shock value of the game, playing it at night time with headphones on, was creepy as a motherfucker. So this game came out. It was kind of a phenomena in itself, because people loved this game and latched onto it. Since then, they made sequels, or other games such as Slender the Arrival. No, the reason, I mean, that's okay, but the reason this gets out of hand is because in 2014, so last year, there was several violent acts which were connected to the character of Slender Man, but these weren't acts that were purportedly done by the character himself. These weren't attacks by a Slender Man or by somebody trying to be Slender Man. These attacks were by people trying to in some way connect with the Slender Man. The standout in all these attacks was an attack by two 12-year-old girls on their friend in 2014. And this attack was brutal to say the least. They stabbed their friend 19 times. 19 times they stabbed their friend, because they believed that if they didn't do this, the Slender Man would harm them and their families. If they didn't kill their friend, this Slender Man, this creepy ass motherfucker, which stood really tall, and imagine if you're a child here, that this thing's towering over you, this big scary presence, would harm you and those you love if you didn't kill your friend. These girls were 12 years old. They were trialed as adults. This was attempted murder. As crazy as it seems, this was attempted murder. This is really scary. If an internet fabrication, a fantastical fantasy like this, can cause you to want to kill your friend because you're worried that if you don't appease this deity, then this deity is going to come and get you. And not just you, but it's going to harm you and your family. This was an internet meme. This was a character that was designed for a competition to create a modern 21st century scary icon. They believed it was real. And yes, they were 12 years old. And kids have massive imaginations. But 12's not really young, really. This is scary. And I think what we've got on our hands here is a case of a tulpa. I've said many times in this video so far, and it's only a short video, and a short podcast. There is a video, go on YouTube, check it out. This has only been going since 2009. Like I say, this isn't something that's steeped in hundreds of years of folklore and history. This is something that's fresher than the Lord of the Rings movies, by a long shot. Last Lord of the Rings film came out in 2003, picture that. This guy came out in 2009. It shows how easy the masses can be brainwashed now. With so many people believing in him, this idea of a tulpa has come forward. Now, if you're wondering what a tulpa is, T-U-L-P-A, a tulpa is basically imagination turned real. Say you've got an imaginary friend and you think about him really hard. I've got this imaginary friend, he's a big gecko, he's called Gizmo. If I think about him enough, he becomes real. He goes from being a thought to being a physical being. Now, a lot of people believe that with enough people believing in the Slender Man, enough people talking about him, enough energy gravitated and directed towards the fabrication of Slender Man. They believe that he has actually become a physical, living being. Or just a being, like almost like a ghost or an alien. Something that actually exists. Is this crazy? Or what? This says to me that even people in the 21st century can go batshit crazy. Even people in the 21st century that have all this technology and are fully aware of what's real and what's not, 95% of the time, they can still be swayed like this. We've got the name of the creator. This guy's copyrighted the name Slender Man. Hence why there's no Slender Man movies, books. There's only fan fiction and fan games. And yet some people still believe that it's actually possible for this skinny motherfucker to exist. That worries me, because if people believe that he can exist, then surely there's always the opportunity for another creation to come around, and for that creation to exist. I don't know, let's make one up. We'll call him Jagged Head. He's got spikes all over his head. It's a shitty idea, I acknowledge that, but think about it. You've got this character. If enough fan fiction's wrote about him, enough attention's given towards him, people might start thinking that this guy actually exists. It's crazy, it's crazy. Now, I will say that back in the day, there is historical sort of articles which could purport to there being a very tall, skinny humanoid character existing. We've got Brazilian cave paintings which show this. We've got Egyptian hieroglyphics. We've got German woodcuts. But is it possible that those images have just been misinterpreted? That whatever these images are depicting, the projection, the idea of Slender Man is being enforced onto that because these beings are tall and slim. Not all cave paintings are to scale. And as amazing as they are, historically amazing, they're really, really basic. There is dark folklore that sort of has this idea of a tree man, and that's folklore from this country. This is the UK. It's English mythology, it's English myth referring to the tree man. He's said to have a slim body with appendages that look like tree branches, very similar to Slender Man, less humanoid, but similar indeed, right? He's known to be in woods, just like Slender Man. He was used as a story that parents told the children to thwart bad behaviour. Don't be a bad little boy, don't be a bad little girl, because the tree man will get you. Just like Slender Man. This tall being, long limbs, whether they're trees, whether they're tentacles, as depicted by Victor Surge and his Slender Man, or whether branches and twigs, whatever, for the English mythology, dark folklore version of Tree Man. Having said that, there were some supposed disappearances that were linked to the Tree Man, but those were disappearances. This was English mythology back in the day. Kids disappeared. Kids disappear now. Only these days, it's a lot easier to track kids. Back then, I don't suppose a child going missing would have been as easy to figure out. You know, children would have been murdered, abducted, fair dues. But there is also this mythology in Romanian, Romanian scripts and Romanian folklore in regards to the tall man. Which reminds me of the film Phantasm, if you've seen it. I think he's the, what is he? He's the keeper of the morgue or something like that. He wears the tall suit, he's got the shitty haircut. I think they refer to him as the tall man. That's kind of like Slender Man, only more human. But anyway, the tall man in Romanian mythology. Now, Romania, it's steeped in dark folklore. It's steeped in tales of witches and ghosts and all kinds of crazy wild animals, right? So the tall man is just another string to the bow of Romanian folklore. I'll read an excerpt here from Romanian mythology about the tall man. The tall man stood in a clearing, dressed as a nobleman, all in black. Shadows lay over him, dark as a cloudy midnight. He had many arms, all long and boneless as snakes, all sharp as swords, and they writhed like worms on nails. He did not speak, but made his intentions known. In the fairy tale, the tall man causes a mother to kill her husband and child before he slid from a fireplace and clenched her in his burning embrace. So there's a lot of things in just that couple of paragraphs there that harken to current events that have happened. I'll skip to the end. In the fairy tale, the tall man causes a mother to kill her husband and child before he slid from a fireplace and clenched her in his burning embrace. Now these children in Wisconsin, these two 12-year-old girls, they wanted to go and live apparently with the Slender Man, or go to his world. Very much like that. The tall man causes a mother to kill her husband and child. The Slender Man causes two girls to murder their friend, which is what it would have been if the girl hadn't survived, before he slid from a fireplace and clenched her in his burning embrace. He could have appeared from the woods and took them away. Okay? So you've got a massive sort of connection right there. Now in the quotations here, the quotation, the tall man stood in a clearing dressed as a nobleman, all in black. The suit of the modern day Slender Man. Shadows lay over him, dark as a cloudy midnight. No discernible features, so you can't really get a grasp on him. He's a tall figure in a suit. He had many arms, all long and boneless as snakes, the tentacles on his back, all sharp as swords, and they writhed like worms on nails. He did not speak, he hasn't got a mouth, but made his intentions known. Telepathic thoughts, perhaps? I think that's what these girls believed. So all of this analysis aside, all of this naysaying aside, yes, I'm shitting all over the idea of the Slender Man, but he's not real. And he never will be, unless somebody dresses up as him and pretends to be him. Which would be a pretty cool idea if he didn't do any harm to anybody. Imagine that, you're going through the woods one day and you see some figure in the distance that looks like the Slender Man. I'd shit myself. I know I'd shit myself. I'd physically shite. Now, that's a scary idea. And it's a great idea, it's a brilliant idea when it stays within the boundaries of fiction, and fan fiction, and fun. Not when it's transported into reality and causes people to attack each other and to attempt to murder people. You know, this is a point that needs to be put across. These girls attempted to murder a friend. 19 times she was stabbed. 19 times! They really were trying to kill her, because they really thought that this Slender Man was going to do them harm. Do the harm to their families, and then they would get to go away with him. I don't know what they expected to obtain from being with the Slender Man in his world, but they are children. But this did happen, this assault did take place, and that's when fiction becomes something far more real and something far more scary. So when something like this is created, it can be fun, and it is fun, it's a great idea. But when it does harm to people, that's when works of art like this go too far, and that is really scary. Now, I do hope they make a Slender Man movie, because I think it has the premise to be amazing. There is some stuff on YouTube. There's a video series called Marble Hornets, which is pretty good. It depicts the Slender Man in the correct way. It looks really good, it's really well made. It is camcorder footage style, but it's fun, and it's scary. And you might shit yourself. And it's a great idea. I fucking love the idea of the Slender Man, it's brilliant. Anything to do with a creature in a wood. A scary deity, a being that exists in forests and woodlands, is creepy as fuck to me. Woodlands are creepy places. You know, you've got the stories from the Brothers Grimm about events taking places in woodlands, witchy woodlands, woodlands with witches in, you've got trolls under the bridges and all sorts. It's a brilliant idea for dark folklore, and for modern folklore like the Slender Man. It's an awesome idea, check it out. I'll stick some links on the Facebook page. I'll put some links in the description to some pictures, so you haven't got to search them, just click on the links. I'll try and pick the best ones. And yeah, thanks for listening to me rant on. It's been me by myself, so it's probably not been what you normally used to. I might do this more often, but I do prefer having a podcast with Phil, or somebody that's filling in for Phil, no pun intended, just to have that bit of back and forth, the bit of conversation, because at the minute I'm just addressing a webcam and a microphone, so it's kind of crazy. I feel kind of lonely, but don't worry about it, because I'm not unstable. I'll do this, I'll sort it out, don't worry about it. And this is for Phil if you're watching. Phil, get your fucking ass in gear. and get yourself fucking down here. I'll get down there and we'll do some recording together, yeah? So let's do this. It's time to shut shop. It's been David from 2 Guys 1 Garage. Remember to like the Facebook page. Hi, tweet my way on the 2 Guys 1 Garage Twitter page. Let me know what you think about Slender Man. And yeah, catch you on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Have a good day, night, morning, evening, whatever. Watch out for Slender Man. Look over your back. There might be something more real, something more scary that does actually exist, that isn't so slender. Keep your eyes peeled. You don't know what's out there.